Russia has claimed that its air defenses shot down more than 144 Ukrainian drones overnight, claims its defense ministry, including 20 over the capital Moscow. More than 60 drones were also downed over Russia's southwestern region of Bryansk. Bryansk is a region which borders Ukraine and the Lipetsk region in Russia's south. Following the attack, 3 airports around Moscow have suspended their flight operations. Russia has claimed that one 9-year-old child was killed in Ukrainian drone attacks in Moscow region. Democratic presidential nominee and current Vice President Kamala Harris is set to clash with rival Republican candidate and former President Donald Trump in a high-stakes TV presidential debate ahead of the November 5th general election. While Kamala Harris has reached Philadelphia, Donald Trump will arrive on Tuesday for debate. Police are also bracing for protests by pro-Palestinian and pro-choice groups ahead of the debate. German government has decided to tighten border controls to curb irregular inflow of migrants. The new border controls will be implemented along Germany's land borders with all 9 of its EU neighbors. New temporary rules will come into force on 16th of September for an initial 6 months. The decision comes amid rising pressure on Scholz's government to curb irregular migrant numbers and crack down on extremists. Announcing the decision, German Interior Minister Nancy Faeser said that Germany will continue to push back irregular migration. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has announced that the country is implementing a nuclear force construction policy to increase the number of nuclear weapons exponentially. He said that North Korea must thoroughly prepare its nuclear capability and its readiness to use it properly at any given time in ensuring the security rights of the state. He then added that a strong military presence is needed to face the various threats posed by the United States and its followers.
공화국의 튼튼한 전립과성 발전에서 김정은 동지께서 강력적인 연설, 이 국가의
US President Joe Biden has marked the 34th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act at the South Lawn of the White House, calling it a source of opportunity for millions. He noted that more work was needed to provide dignity and pride for the disabled. The ADA, signed in 1990 by President George Bush, prohibits discrimination against people with disabilities in several areas, including employment, transportation, public accommodations, communication, and access to state and local government programs.
Distinguished guests.
The wars in Ukraine and West Asia are at the top of the agenda of US Secretary of State Antony Blinken as he arrives in the UK for a 2-day visit. He is the highest-ranking US official to visit the United Kingdom since the Labour triumph in the July elections. Blinken is expected to meet UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and speak to Foreign Secretary David Lammy. Blinken and Lammy are to discuss ways to rally further behind Ukraine, which is waging a bold offensive inside Russian territory as Moscow trudges further on the ground inside Ukraine's east.
As the summer comes to an end, I cannot tell you what a relief it is to have finally completed my chemotherapy treatment.
The Princess of Wales, Kate Middleton, has successfully completed her chemotherapy after being diagnosed with cancer back in March. The 40-year-old said that her journey has been scary and complex in her fight against cancer, and she is relieved to have finally completed the chemotherapy treatment. In a video message, the Princess of Wales said that the 9 months have been difficult for the family. She further stated that she will stay side by side with those continuing their fight against cancer in her next phase of recovery.
Is simply loving and being loved.
Five Chinese naval ships enter the Sea of Japan, heading in the direction of Russia over the weekend, claims Tokyo after Beijing announced joint military drills with Moscow. The Japanese Defense Ministry confirmed that these vessels sailed northeastwards through the Fukushima Strait towards the Sea of Japan. Japan's self-defense forces conducted vigilance, monitoring and intelligence gathering with a vessel and patrol plane, releasing photos of the ships. Japan's Tokyo Electric Power has restarted the trial removal of nuclear fuel debris from the Fukushima Daiichi plant after the work was suspended last month due to equipment malfunction. The work to remove debris, which consists of nuclear fuel along with parts of the plant's infrastructure, was initially planned to start in 2021 but was delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Indian authorities have captured the second of three man-eating wolves after repeated attacks that killed at least 6 children and a woman in northern Uttar Pradesh over the past few weeks. Forest Department officials said the captured wolf was a female they traced using her pug marks, while the last remaining wolf, a male, has escaped. While leopard and tiger attacks are regularly reported in India, wolf attacks are unusual. The mother of the trainee doctor who was brutally raped and murdered at a hospital in India's Kolkata has rejected Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee's claim that the parents of the victim were not offered any money. Accusing the Chief Minister of lies, she alleged that Mamata Banerjee was trying to strangle the protests against the rape and murder of the trainee doctor whose body was found at the Arjikar Hospital Seminar Hall. Meanwhile, junior doctors have continued their cease work protest despite directions by Supreme Court to resume duties by 5 p.m. today. Massive protests erupted in India's Guwahati after a 21-year-old student was found dead at the hostel room and the campus of the Indian Institute of Technology Guwahati, IIT. According to initial reports, the cause of the death was suicide. This is the fourth student death at the prestigious institute this year.
We want justice! 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 We want
A Dutch court has convicted 2 Pakistani men of inciting their followers to murder far-right leader Geert Wilders. The 2 men, Mohammad Ashraf Jalali and Saad Hussain Rizvi, were sentenced in their absence as the Netherlands has no extradition treaty with Pakistan. The judges said in their ruling that Jalali abused his authority as a religious leader, as his followers could have taken the call seriously. Israeli airstrikes targeted a tent camp for displaced Palestinians in Al-Mawasi. The strikes killed and wounded 65 people in southern Gaza, the enclave's civil emergency service said early on Tuesday. Residents gathered at a hospital in Khan Yunis in Gaza to mourn their loved ones who were killed in the strikes. The Gaza Civil Emergency Service said at least 20 tents caught on fire and missiles caused craters as deep as 9 meters. It said the 65 victims included women and children. Meanwhile, Israeli military claimed that its aircraft struck significant Hamas terrorists embedded inside the humanitarian area. Turkish President Erdogan has said that Turkey would seek justice for the killing of Turkish-American activist by taking Israel to the International Court of Justice, the ICJ. A witness said Aysenur Ezgi was shot dead by Israeli forces in the occupied West Bank. The Turkish leader also called on nations of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, to meet regularly and meet urgently and represent a united stance against what he said were Israeli expansionist policies concerning holy sites in Jerusalem. Thousands of Catholics have arrived in East Timor's Tositolu, as Pope Francis is set to hold one of the biggest masses of his term, with more than half of the country's 1.3 million people expected to attend. The 87-year-old pontiff is on a 12-day Asia-Pacific tour, his longest overseas journey yet. His trip to East Timor, one of the two majority Catholic countries in Asia, is only the second such visit by a pope. Emergency workers are racing to evacuate thousands of people from severe floods in northern Vietnam following landslides and floods triggered by Typhoon Yagi. According to the country's disaster management agency, while 63 people have been killed, 40 are still reported missing, and around 752 people have also been injured. According to meteorologists, Typhoon Yagi is the most powerful typhoon to hit northern Vietnam in 30 years, which downed bridges, tore off roofs and damaged factories after making landfall, carrying winds in excess of 92 miles per hour. A river in Brazil's largest city, Sao Paulo, turned green as a severe drought in the country continues. Pinheiros River runs through the city of Sao Paulo and is one of the most polluted in Brazil. According to the Sao Paulo State Environmental Company, the dry period significantly reduced the water in Pinheiros, keeping the river in a very low flow and favoring algae proliferation. A major wildfire in the foothills of a national forest east of Los Angeles has pushed some 6,000 people to flee the area. The blaze threatened thousands of homes and commercial structures as it burned along the edge of San Bernardino National Forest. About 105 kilometers east of Los Angeles, the blaze has charred about 83 square kilometers of grass and brush and blanketed the area with a thick cloud of dark smoke. Firefighters were using bulldozers, helicopters and airplanes to control the rapidly spreading blaze. They have managed to contain only 3% of the line fire. Jabil, a US-based electronics maker and Apple supplier, will invest $238.2 million to establish a manufacturing plant in Tamil Nadu. The new facility is set to create around 5,000 jobs. This expansion reflects India's growing role as a key manufacturing hub. Tamil Nadu has also secured deals with Rockwell Automation and Autodesk to boost local manufacturing, with Rockwell's investment valued at $79 million. Nomura Holdings is eyeing stronger revenue growth in trading, which could increase by as much as 30% over the next 3 years, as it makes a renewed push to grow its business serving hedge funds. A jump in revenue from buying and selling government bonds and equities this year and new expansion plans are putting the Japanese bank on course to beat a 20% 3-year revenue growth target. The initial focus is on leveraging Nomura's existing prime businesses in the United States and Asia to encourage clients to trade a wider range of assets. Boeing has told suppliers it is delaying a key production milestone for its 737 MAX by 6 months, in a sign the plane maker is struggling to boost production of its best-selling jet. Boeing's latest 737 supplier, Master Schedule, communicated to the industry calls for MAX output to reach 42 a month in March 2025, compared with the previous target of September 2024. Boeing has been struggling to recover production of its top single-aisle passenger plane due to additional safety and regulatory checks since a door panel dramatically flew off a 737 MAX jet in mid-air in January. Australia is planning on setting a minimum age for children to use social media due to health concerns. However, digital rights advocates argue this could push risky online behavior underground. The Australian government will first conduct an age verification trial before enacting new age limits later this year. Although the exact age is not yet clear, it is expected to be between 14 and 16. If implemented, Australia would be the first countries to enforce such a restriction. Previous efforts like those by the EU have failed amid objections about limiting minors' online rights. According to a report, workers at many of the largest US tech companies are backing Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris over Republican rival Donald Trump. Workers at Alphabet, Amazon and Microsoft are donating millions of dollars to the Harris campaign, significantly more than employees who are opting to send money to former President Trump. The report suggests that employees at Alphabet and its subsidiaries, which includes Google, have so far donated around $2 million to Harris' campaign. Google versus the US Department of Justice second antitrust trial has begun. The trial will challenge how the search giant monetizes advertising through a system that prosecutors say harms news publishers. Google has been accused of dominating the markets for the technology behind website advertisements by tying its tools for publishers and advertisers together. The advertising tools in question contributed to more than 75% of Google's $307 billion revenue last year. Poland's Deputy Prime Minister Krzysztof Gawkowski has said the country's security services successfully neutralized a sabotage operation orchestrated by Russia and Belarus. As per reports, saboteurs operating from Belarus in cooperation with Russia penetrated local and central government institutions, including state-owned companies implementing military contracts. Warsaw has repeatedly accused Moscow of attempting to destabilize Poland because of its role in supplying military aid to Ukraine. Russia, however, denies these allegations. A police body cam footage of a traffic stop involving Miami Dolphins receiver Tyreek Hill was released, showing how officers forcibly removed the NFL star from his car before handcuffing him. Miami police have launched an internal affairs investigation and placed one of the officers involved in the incident on leave. Authorities released more than 105 minutes of body cam footage depicting a chaotic scene that escalates quickly.
Bro. I just had surgery on my knee, bro. I just had surgery in your ears. Why are they doing him like that, bro?